fear is such a strong feeling, okay?
Right.
And not only that, you talked about persistence earlier. I
Hmm.
don't think you get over fear if you don't have any resilience or persistence.
Nope.
So tell us, all right, where you were emotionally when you were writing that song. When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision. Welcome, one, welcome all to your one stop shop for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams, and not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. And welcome back to the Speak Your Vision podcast. And if you're into everything empowerment, no need to look any further. But today, we have an incredible, amazing guest to help us celebrate Blindness Equality Achievement Month for the month of October. We have here with us today singer-songwriter Precious Perez. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I really look forward to just diving into your journey in music and just learning more about you in the process.
Absolutely. Let's do
Let's
it.
do it. So, language here on the podcast is something that's really important to me, really important to us in this community. And I want to ask you to help us set the tone for the interview. What are two words that helped you that you would say describe your journey to where you are today?
Oh man, only two words. That's a tough one. But I think the first thing that comes to mind, um, resilience and persistence.
Ooh, okay. Okay. And tell us why resilience and persistence. Resilience is the word we've actually heard before on the podcast. I'm definitely curious to get your perspective, and then let's dive into persistence.
Yeah, so resilience because I've dealt with a lot as a blind artist and musician. The first blind music educator to go through the music ed major at Berklee College of Music.
Mm.
Um, just I have a lot of intersectionalities, and that's something I'm sure we'll get into, but um, there are a lot of ups and downs, a lot of things that I've had to overcome, and the only way was to, push through and to get through them, and to not let anything negative or the negative aspects of all of that kind of color my perspective on the future moving
Mm.
forward. So I think resilience for that reason. And then
Okay.
persistence, just because I had to keep going. Like, if I were to have given up on any of the goals that I had up until this point, I wouldn't be where I am. And so, even when I was really down, even when something didn't work, or when I felt like I wasn't going to get anywhere, I just kept going because I knew, like, this is all I can do, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I can control what's happening now.
Yeah.
And I choose to move through the feelings, any feelings that are bogging me down, to get through them, and then to keep pushing through them to get to the top of the hill, to the next best thing, because you can really only go up.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. You know, when we talk about persistence and you're just saying like you just had to do it, you just had to push through. Is there maybe a quote or something like an affirmation, something along those lines that help you? Because it sounds, oh, we just got to just push through. Well, like that might make sense to some, but like, was there something that in the
Right.
back of your head maybe that assisted you with that persistence?
I think for me, it's the purpose that I feel in doing what I
Oh,
do.
okay.
So, I'm a singer-songwriter, but I also represent multiple communities as like a blind Puerto Rican low-income woman, uh,
Mm.
first-gen college student, uh, anxiety and depression. All these different things kind of factor into who I am
Yeah.
as a person and as an individual. And there's a lot of labels that go into that, but for me, I see them as identifiers. They're all parts of me.
Right.
And with what I do, I have the ability and the platform to uplift not only myself, but all of the communities that I represent and the people that aren't getting their voices heard and to represent where I come from. So, because I
Mhm.
knew like my family worked really hard, my mom worked really hard so that I could have the opportunities that she didn't have. I
Right.
had to fight really hard for my scholarships. I had to work really hard to maintain my grades, to get through college, to pay for college because
Yeah.
my family couldn't help me pay for college. So I had to get loans and financial aid and then scholarships to pay off those loans and
Right.
all these different things. Um, but the thing that kept me going was realizing that this is bigger than me because what I'm
Mm.
able to achieve doesn't just help me, but it helps the blind community. It helps
Yeah.
representation. It helps other people that are wanting to follow in my footsteps and do the same things I'm doing. It
Yeah.
also helps all of the communities that I came from. It helps my family and anyone who's ever invested in me and believed in me because anybody who tells you they get anywhere alone is lying.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
really does take a village.
Yeah.
And so I think the strength that I found to keep persisting was the people that I love, the people that I want to represent and uplift, and just the bigger picture.
Right. Right. No doubt about it. I really think about how you set the tone for what you just said in terms of that word purpose. So we're gonna have purpose help us with this journey as well. I
Ooh,
like how
yes.
you really set the tone there for sure. Um, you know, we just kind of brushed at the surface level here of this word blind, right?
Mm, yep.
And it's funny for me, like interviewing another blind person, because I'm like, okay, blind, whatever, la 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 la,
Yeah,
right?
we know this. This is not new,
We've been here,
Familiar.
right? But for people listening, maybe not so much.
Yeah,
And so let's take that elephant in the room here and let's kind of talk about that first.
I'm here
And
for
before we
elephants. Let's do it.
and let's talk about it. So your blindness, what is it? And what tell us about your blindness.
Absolutely. So I have what's called retinopathy of prematurity. And basically, what that means is that I was born about 2.5 months early, and I was given oxygen to keep me alive, but my retina's detached as a result. My eyes were not fully developed yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was essentially born blind, and I've been blind since. So I've never had vision. The only thing I did not have when I was born was I didn't have light perception at all. But I
Mm-hmm.
had, what was it, like 5 operations done when I was really little. And the most they did was um, get me to see light out of my left eye. So I can see light, and they said lights and shadows, but I don't know where the shadow part's coming from because I don't recognize any outlines. I just know that there are things blocking the light, which means there's something in front of me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my left eye, I can see light and shadows, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly. The light part is what I understand. The shadows, I don't know. But then my right eye is just dead, and so it's developing calcium deposits, and so it looks cloudier. Um, Small children think my eyes look scary sometimes. That's normal. Um, and so I just have to explain to them that my eyes are broken, but it's okay.
Yeah.
They just don't work. Um, but that's essentially my blindness in a nutshell. I have never, people always talk about this like, oh, it must be so hard to be blind.
Yeah.
Somebody who has lost their vision later on has a different perspective on that than somebody
Right.
like me who's grown up being blind.
Right.
So I think that's an important distinction to make is that, even though blindness is an all encompassing spectrum with different
Mm-hmm.
degrees,
Mm-hmm.
um, everybody's experience is going to be different. So my experience as a blind person isn't going to be the next person's experience as a blind person.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, as for me, I mean, my blindness, I became blind at 16 due to Leber's hereditary optical neuropathy.
Oh, wow, my husband has that.
There you
That's
go, small
wild.
world. I was told when I became blind, Precious, that I was special. I was told
I'm
that
so sorry.
you're
I'm
one
so
of only a
sorry.
few of us. And now I know like five people with the same thing.
They told you lies.
Right.
How dare they do this?
And so we're laughing about this and we're talking about this, and there's probably somebody watching is like, wow, like how are they laughing about this conversation and kind of
Mm.
joking about this? And so before we dive into the music piece in a little bit here, how do you navigate conversations with your blindness?
Me personally, I'm just very open about it. I think a lot of what people don't know is because they just do not know it. Um, I think that disability is the one diversity left out of every DEI conversation. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that disability still has this giant stigma, and specifically blindness. Like, people are just terrified. They're like,
Yeah.
oh man, I have no idea what I would do if I went blind. Then you have these experiences where it's like dining in the dark. Here's how you be a blind person for one night. You just go in here and we'll just put stuff in front of you. I'm like, that's not how this works, though.
Right.
The problem is that society projects their expectations and thoughts about what it's like to be blind, and because people don't understand it, they're afraid of it. So
Right.
for me, if I can answer a question about blindness and show somebody how voiceover works, or, tell them a little bit about, especially in the religious sector, I mean, I could go on about how I've been prayed over that I will see it in a day, or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
God will heal me. And for me, like, I identify as a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, I feel that I was created for what I'm doing. Like, I wouldn't be here as a blind person if I wasn't supposed to be a blind person and God didn't say, "Hey, I need you to do this and educate people and uplift and do this and add this to the world because this is what you're made for."
Yeah.
And I think that's a really hard concept for people to wrap their mind around, to be like, "Well, why?" And I'm like, if you're religious and this is what you believe, that, you know, everything is made in God's image, then how can you call me an abomination? Or how
Mm.
can you call a person with a disability broken? Because honestly, we're all broken in our own way, but it's what you do with it. So that's a whole other conversation. And I know I just went on this whole tangent,
No, no, but
but
it's so important, right? Because everybody has something, you know?
yep.
Everybody's going through something. And for you and I, it's blindness, but that only barely starts to scratch the surface.
Mm-hmm. Say it again.
You know? Like I have a cane, you know what I mean? And I'm going
Mm-hmm.
through that. But everybody has, it's not only something, but multiple things they're going through.
Right.
And so the blinds might be a little bit different. And so we talk about that, expect your society's expectations for me as a blind person are not my expectations.
Exactly.
I hold myself to these high expectations and develop that purpose for myself and recognizing what that purpose is. And for you seem to find that purpose in working and developing your music.
Yes.
So tell us, why music?
Music has been in my life for as long as I can remember. My mom said she used to, like, listen to Mozart when I was in the womb, and put
Mm-hmm.
the headphones on her stomach.
Love
Um
it. Love it.
and she, like, always had music playing, from, you know, Daddy Yankee to, like, Mark Anthony, salsa, reggaeton, all of that stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
you would have, like, 2000s R&B, like T-Pain, you had Aaliyah, you had TLC, you had SWV, all these different people. And then it went to hip hop. I heard, like, Tupac and Eminem and Biggie and all this. And then there would be, like, random jazz interspersed there, and
Mm-hmm.
classical, and just, like, she exposed me to all of the music all over the map. I
Right.
always say, like, the things that I learned to kind of appreciate later on are country and classic rock, because I just never grew up around those.
Right.
I started listening to those when I was a bit older, and
Mm-hmm.
had friends that listened to those genres more. But um, music kind of was just around me ever since I was little. And when I was 5, somebody gave me a J-Lo CD and an Eminem CD. And I remember distinctly being like, well, I didn't really ask for the Eminem one, but I mean, I guess
Right.
I'm gonna listen to this now. And it
And
was the soundtrack for a
you were
while.
5 when that happened?
I was 5, yep.
Hopefully that Eminem CD was edited.
I don't remember, to be real with you, but you know what? Life isn't edited, all right? You kind
Right.
of just figure it out. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when I was 6, someone gave me a Barbie karaoke machine. It was this little pink thing with like the cassette tapes and the little microphone, and you could like record and play back. So I would turn on the radio in my room and just like I was painfully shy as a kid. And I had anxiety like symptoms very early on, and I honestly didn't know what it was until I was in college when I got diagnosed. Um, but I was painfully shy, so I would sing in my room, and I would be super embarrassed if anybody, if like my mom or anyone ever caught me singing because they would like try to lower the music to get everybody else to hear me, and then I would stop because I was like, oh, I see what you're trying to do here. Um, and then in elementary school, I started doing chorus and things because I loved to sing, and my teachers, music teachers, started noticing, like, oh, wow, you have a nice voice. And so I just kind of kept going with that.
Hmm.
And then it wasn't until middle school when I really started getting into the performing aspect of things. I started doing little talent shows that they had. Um, Taylor Swift was a huge inspiration for songwriting for me.
Hmm.
I started listening to her, and I was honestly a very unhealthily obsessed Swiftie back then. I'm still a Swiftie, but like not on the level I was when I was 12. That was too much, girl. That was too much.
Well,
But
was that the love story days?
that was like the Red Days, 1989, like that kind of whole. I think I started in 2008, 2009 when Fearless came out, which was her second
Okay.
album.
Okay.
And like it just it went like I used to look up her like favorite color and all these things, a typical teenage girl vibes.
Right.
Um, but I kind of modeled my singing for a while on her. And when I was younger, it was Mariah Carey and Alicia Keys and Mary J. Blige, and like just there's so many influences that I have. Um, and so many artists that I could like sing multiple songs by heart to. It's pretty wild. And
Mhm.
it's so much fun. And so in middle school, I started writing songs. And I always say I wrote my first good song when I was probably 14 because I wrote like two before then. The first one I had help with. The second one, eh, it wasn't it. I might redo
Yeah.
that melody someday and use it for something else, but
Yeah.
um, a lot of my inspiration really came from not only did I love doing it, I loved singing, I loved being able to go into that world and just, forget everything. But it was
Yeah.
my outlet when I was feeling upset, when I was getting bullied in middle school, and I felt like, I don't know, I was too different, or I was not gonna have friends, or never gonna have a boyfriend like these girls, or whatever,
Yeah.
like it was my way of expressing the things that I couldn't articulate. Um,
Now, do you think that some of those thoughts came from like your blindness and then you turn that into music? Is that what happened? I don't want to speak for you.
Sometimes, I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes it varies. Like, my disability for sure, my blindness definitely plays a role and played a role in the very first good song I wrote. It was about, it's the only like disability centered song that I've written so
Hmm.
far. Um, and it's called Different, and it
Okay.
basically is like, how do you feel when the world's closed-minded about you and no one knows what you can prove? And like the chorus is like, do you dream alone? Do you have a home? Are you on your own just because you're different? I know how you feel. So like it was this whole like, man, like me kind of asking like, how do you feel when people look at you this way? Because I know how this feels. But then it kind of takes a turn and goes, you know, I'm here and I know how you feel because
Yeah.
I'm different.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry because you're not alone, kind of thing. So I think, some of that was rooted in my experience as a blind person and being the only blind person at the time that was going through my school system.
Okay.
Um, but it's definitely not like the center of where the music comes from because it's kind of inspired by whatever it's inspired by. Sometimes it's like, hey, wow, that tree smells nice. I wonder what I could write about that tree. Maybe that
Yeah.
tree compares to the tree of life. And then it just like I go on these random, like, you never know what's going to hit.
Yeah.
Like, I was sitting in a lift a couple months ago and the blinker
Okay.
started going off. And
Okay.
I was like, oh man, I gotta record this. I gotta sample this. And then I had this whole rhythm that I was tapping along with the blinker sound. And it's
Right.
like, you just really never know where it's gonna come from.
Yeah, for sure. So so I'm preparing for the podcast, right?
Hmm.
And I'm fangirling over Precious Perez music on Apple Music, okay?
Appreciate that. Thanks.
And then and the one song comes on and I'm hearing some piano,
Mm.
and then it's wipe away your tears, throw away the fears.
Hummingbird. Yes.
Hummingbird. Yeah, I
Yes.
will jam to Hummingbird
Oh
so
my god.
hard. Okay. So we're
What a
talking
vibe.
about where you're getting like your inspirations from and when you're writing your music and everything. And I'm listening to Hummingbird on repeat. Okay. Tell tell me about where you were when you're talking about like throwing away fears, okay?
Mm.
Because that fear is such a strong feeling, okay?
Right.
And not only that, you talked about persistence earlier. I
Hmm.
don't think you get over fear if you don't have any resilience or persistence.
Nope.
So tell us, all right, where you were emotionally when you were writing that song.
Mm. Hummingbird came at a time, the end of 2014, and I had just gone through a real bad breakup. Like, I was heartbroken.
Mhm.
First boyfriend, first relationship, and I was trying to figure out who I was, as a 14-year-old girl that was mature in a lot of ways, but obviously still growing up. Um,
Wow.
and trying to figure out who are my friends now that I was
Hold on.
tied to this
I have
person.
to go back. I'm sorry.
No, no,
You were
you're good.
you were 14 years old when you wrote Hummingbird?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Okay, go ahead.
And so I remember it came to me because I had gotten a bracelet from my mom for Christmas and it had a hummingbird on it.
Mhm.
And then I had gotten a Christmas card from somebody else with a hummingbird on it.
Yeah.
And so then my friend Daisy and I call her my twin because she's one of my like best friends.
Okay.
We're practically sisters. But she was like, maybe there's something to a hummingbird. Like, what can we. So we were looking it up, and I saw, like, okay, hummingbirds are resilient. They're
Mhm.
really, really small, but they can fly really, really fast. And, like, they overcome the odds. Like, they're just these amazing birds. And so
Y-
I was like, hey, wait a minute. I so resonate with this right now.
Yeah.
And so the chorus, like the dry your many tears, the part that you mentioned,
Yeah.
that was the first part that came to me. And I remember I sang it to her because I was writing it, and she was like, I'm tearing up right now.
Yeah.
Because for
Yeah.
me, at that point in my life, I was trying to figure out who I was without this person and being tied
Yeah.
to them who my friends were because their friends may or may not have been my friends anymore. I didn't know. So I was trying to figure that out. I was trying to lean on my support system and to, be confident on my own 2 feet again, you know?
Right. Right.
Um, and
I
so that's where it came from, but it's really evolved into something so much more than that as I've grown up because I found that that song has grown with me from the beginning. Like, it's one of them for me that I think is always going to be relevant
yeah.
for anyone, for anything that anyone might be going through, for anything that I'm going through.
Yeah.
Because even though
Yeah.
it started from that place, it can mean anything. It can
Yeah.
mean, whatever you're dealing with or facing that you're unsure about.
Let's be. You say it in the song. Even though you're small, you're bigger than they'll ever be. Right?
That's my line right there. Listen,
Love that.
don't even play right now. It's so
Love
good.
it. Love it. I was jamming earlier. I was jamming, and so as that song has kind of worked with you, right? And you
Yeah.
said that it continues to go along with you for your journey. What are some of the recent projects that you've been working on?
Yeah. So, oh man, there's a couple things I have my hands in.
Okay.
So, I am vice president of a global network called Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities, RAMPed for short.
Hmm.
And we um, elevate disability culture, promote inclusion, and advocate for accessibility within the music industry. So we just launched in January, like formally. So we're fairly new. But in
Hmm.
that time, we've been able to consult with the Grammys. We've been featured in Forbes and the Hollywood Reporter, different publications. Um, we're really making strides in the industry
Yeah.
because it's not only imperative that disabled artists are recognized as professionals, but are paid as professionals.
Okay.
Because, as I said earlier, disability isn't talked about in DEI as much as it should be.
Right.
And we, as disabled artists and disabled people in general, face a lot more obstacles than the typical able bodied person. And so I'm very excited about all of the initiatives that we are working on to really break down these barriers in the music industry. And so that's one thing I'm very, very proud to be a part of. And then I am,
If I can just pause
yeah,
you for a second, and then we'll come back to this recent project piece, because you hit hard on this disability and making sure that people with disabilities have an active role in this community, right?
absolutely.
I mean, if we're being real, the world has seen blind artists before, right?
Hmm.
Why is it so important to you to fight this fight? Because you could be a blind artist and work on putting yourself out there, but yet you're finding it important to make sure that you are advocating and find a good fight, not only for yourself, but for other artists with disabilities. Why is that fight so important to you?
I think it all ties back to the purpose. Like for me,
Mm,
it's all bigger than just me individually. Like if I lift myself up and don't extend a hand to the next person, what did I really do? What legacy do I really have except to just glorify myself?
yeah.
You know? So for me, like, I don't get anywhere alone. I don't do this just for myself. If I can leave behind something stronger than I found it,
Mm,
then I did my job.
come on now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That speaks volumes. If, like I said, if we all work on adopting that mindset, right? That it's not only about me, but it's about we, okay? Anything. This world in general could be such an amazing place.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's not enough of that kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, I feel like America in general is kind of self focused,
Yeah.
which is problematic, but that's a whole other conversation.
Right. Right.
But I think, um, you know, for me as an individual, as a person, I want to be the first blind Latina at the forefront of the Latin music industry because, people see blind musician Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. Well, where are the women and where are the Latina women?
Mm.
So
Where
that's
they
where
at?
I'm trying to go in my personal career.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as far as the overall, I want what I do to make it better for the next person
Yeah.
because that's a legacy.
Hmm. So this legacy, tell us more about some of the more recent projects you've been working on.
Yeah, so I dropped a single in gosh, I don't even, it was like right before I got married, August 8th, I think, 12th, I don't know, something like that. And it's a very special song to me because I wrote it for a friend of mine. Um, Her name is Blaine Hurd, and she was going through a really rough time with mental health and things. And I remember we were having like this texting conversation one morning, and I just was thinking to myself, like, man, what would I want to hear? Because I've been in this place too. What would I need to hear, and what do I want to tell her that I can't say with words?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of came from that place. And then as I was writing it, because I was also going through it, I realized, man, I needed to hear this too. And it
Yeah.
took me writing it for somebody else and really trying to talk to my friend that I really care about for me to realize, like, hey, you need to treat yourself this way too. Like, you need to give yourself more grace.
Mm.
So that's like the most recent project that I've released, um, as far as projects go. Um, I am working on a Latin EP. It's in the works. I have no concrete details yet. Um, Still kind of figuring all of that out, and with the move and trying to find, part-time gig to, make some money while
Mhm.
my artist career is still taking off.
Yeah.
Um, don't have anything set yet, but that's my next goal, is to really kind of center myself in the Latin space, because I've done pop, I've done R&B, and I did put out mainly Latin acoustic EP, but now I want to get more
Mm-hmm.
into like the dance vibe and the real, like, you know,
Yeah.
reggaeton and just like full production vibe. So I'm very
Absolutely.
excited about
I'm getting excited talking about
that.
like the things that you're working on, things that you're putting out, the music piece. I mean, I didn't really mention this in the beginning, but when I started losing my vision, music was something that was really important to me. And that was, I took my poetry and turned it into rap. And
Ooh,
and so,
okay. You
a
out
little,
here sleeping on us. Come on.
I
Why are
got a
you
little
holding out?
something.
Why are you holding out? Come on now. If I gotta sing, you gotta rap, right? That's how this works.
Well, well, I'm getting excited. Maybe we'll throw in a few bars. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll throw
come
in a
on.
few
You
bars.
gotta do that. Listen, we'll
But
have a whole little open mic at the end of this. It'll be
there you
great.
go. I so okay, so I do want to hear. I would love, because I'm getting excited about hearing some music. Right?
Mm.
Do you think we could throw it in now, or we should wait till the end?
Well, let's do it now. I mean, I just finished talking about the song, so may
That
as
that's
well,
what I'm
right?
saying. That's what I'm
Okay, let
saying.
me
So I know.
switch to this thing so that way y'all can actually hear my ukulele.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna play some ukulele for us as well.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you gotta do the whole. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right? Okay,
There you go.
can you hear this? Oh, wait. I think I didn't do the thing. Hold
Okay. Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited.
on. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
That's what I needed.
Okay. Okay.
All right, how about now?
Oh, okay. We got it.
Mm-hmm.
We got it.
Okay, so I'll just do the first verse and chorus. It's got a little bit of an intro. So.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
I know sometimes you feel like you're lost in the wind. Your mind can get so dark that you can't let the light in. I wish you could take a look around and see the radiance that surrounds you, all the love that you bring. I'll be the first one to tell you
it's all gonna be okay. There are rainbows and butterflies, even if you can't see them today. I've been where you are in the dark, but now I see the light too, and it's coming right from you.
Love it. Snaps, love it. That was awesome. That
Thank
was
you.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I got you play instruments as well. You don't only singer-songwriter. What other instruments do you play?
So
Ukulele is my baby. Like that's my most comfortable, best accompaniment instrument. As I whack it against the table, that's fine. And then I play a little bit of piano. I can plunk around a little bit. Same with guitar. Music ed kind of made it so that I had to learn the basics of a bunch of other instruments like saxophone, trumpet. Very bad at trumpet. Don't ask me to play that on cue. That ain't gonna work. Flute, which I love. I played it in middle school. What else did I learn? Clarinet. I really sounded like Squidward though, so I don't know if we can really count that. But primarily I would say guitar, piano, uke, and then a bunch of random instruments. I have a kalimba, which is a thumb piano. I have a steel pan, which I am still learning how to play. I just got a cuatro, which is a traditional Puerto Rican instrument. It's like a guitar, but it has 5 pairs of strings. So that's my next endeavor, is to learn how to play that. Just kind of a bunch of different things.
I mean, you're going through this list, and I'm just like, that was a dumb question, Tariq. You went to Berklee School of Music. Of course, you know how to play all these music. You got to go through all these different music classes.
Yep, theory, harmony. I learned a little bit of production, so I can, record myself from home and things like that. I have some knowledge in hardware and recording and things like that. So,
what I will say though, you mentioned that you can't play trumpet.
Not well.
In a past life, trumpet is actually my first instrument.
No way.
It is my first instrument. I switched to baritone in 8th grade.
Wild.
And then I did marching band in college as well.
I actually really love saxophone. Saxophone was really fun to play around with. The most I had to do was play a scale and a simple tune on all of those. So I don't know if I can really count it as playing. I can get around it if I need to and sort of teach basic techniques. But after that, I'm going to have to be like, all right, kids, go get a real teacher. Because I can just teach you what I know, and then you got to go figure the rest out.
And then when it comes to the baritone, the trumpet, and then I mainly, if I'm doing anything musically now, I did recently get a bass guitar.
Oh, yes.
But I still got to work on that. I'm not too comfortable with the string instruments yet, but I mainly I'll rap if it's anything.
Yes, we love to hear it. We love to hear
it. I mean, you're right. I'll give a couple bars real quickly.
Go for it. Yes, please.
Bars. Okay. All right. I'm not even prepared, so we'll see what even happens.
Just freestyle, man.
Part of the intro music actually is me rapping. I don't know if anybody knows that on the podcast, but the intro music is me rapping. But I'll give the verse right now. And I would say the verse kind of speaks to everything that we're trying to do here with our Vision of Hope with the Speak Your Vision podcast. So here we go. So I'm trying to change the world. That is my dream. And I'm trying to do this by any means. Yeah, I'm one person, but one person can make a difference because there's so much going on in the world. For instance, racism, terrorism, and discrimination, ableism, sexism throughout the nation, poverty and cancer. I want to fix this. I promised that I would if I had one wish. So we got to make this change pretty swiftly. I said it starts with us individually. I said be an inspiration, give some motivation, help somebody through a trying tribulation. We can't sit and wait for the next generation because we right now are a part of the equation. And yeah, we might get nervous and yeah, we might quiver, but like UPS, I know we will deliver.
Not that last line. Oh my God. Wait, hold on. I was fully just bopping over here.
There you go.
So
That's it.
I love
That's
that.
it.
That's a vibe.
There you go. Oh
You
gosh.
wrote that, did you? Tell me
I
you wrote
did.
that.
I did. I
Yes.
did. That's all me. That's
That's
it.
amazing.
So let's we touched on the music piece and everything like that, and this the action to be an advocate and to, I would say, just be a part of the movement, right?
Yeah.
For artists with disabilities, and make sure that they're getting the equal opportunity and the pay and all that. I want to get into, you recently won an award. I saw that you were at the Wavy Awards. Can
Mm.
you speak a little bit about what the Wavy Awards are and what you were doing there?
Yeah. So I'm still floored by that. I can't believe that I won. I was like, oh, what do you mean that's my name? What? Um, the Wavies is this was the second annual, and it is an award show based in NYC that celebrates marginalized artists, so BIPOC, um, disabled, LGBTQ, um, and it's branded as the most inclusive award ceremony ever. They have built in integrated ASL captioning. This year
Wow.
was live audio description for the first time, um, and then Ramped actually consulted with the Wavies to make sure that everything was put in place for accessibility. And I was also there as a nominee, which was wild. And then I ended up winning New Artist of the Year. So very thankful, very excited about it. And, just the beginning.
Yeah, no doubt. So when you say just the beginning, what does that mean? What's next?
I don't know. I don't know what that, and that's scary to me. Like, I, for the first time, don't know what's next. I've had a plan ever since I started Berkeley, because Berkeley was kind of like the starting point for me, as far as developing my career. I mean, it's been it's taken me about 6 years to get to this point. And, I have my big goal to be kind of a top tier artist and in the industry and advocate and all of these different things. But at this very moment, I don't know what's next, what the next step is, what my next move is, what's going to happen. I just
Yeah.
moved to Kentucky from Boston. I'm at this moment, you know, looking for a job in the industry outside of, my independent artistry and my volunteer ramped stuff and all of this. Um, so I don't have the answer to what's next, but
Yeah.
I have the the faith and the solid belief that what's next is going to be bigger than what's happened,
Mm,
because I have my purpose. And even
mm.
when I lose sight of that and my perspective gets warped by, oh wow, you're just like stagnant right now,
Yes.
I know deep down that this isn't the end.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that because it takes a solid amount of vulnerability to be like, I don't know what's next. But what I do know is the persistence and the resiliency that I have because of my purpose. All right.
Yes.
It's gonna be bigger and better than ever. I love that. That's amazing. I appreciate that. To really say that you
Absolutely.
don't know. I think that that has a power in itself. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
No, absolutely. Authenticity is a huge part of, my brand. It's my whole thing. Like, I cannot do what I do without being myself. So,
Right.
I ain't gonna
right?
be lying out here. That's not what we do.
We not lying out here in these streets. We keeping it
Mm-mm.
100. We keeping it a
No
buck.
cap, no cap.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And so all this music things are happening. The journey is happening. We don't know what's next, but we know it's going to be bigger than better than ever. But oh, wait, there's a book coming out.
Yeah,
Tell us
there is a
about
book coming out.
there is a book. There is a book. Tell us about this book that's going to be coming out, what it's about, and when that's happening.
Yeah, so I was reached out to by the Hawkins Project, and they're friends of mine actually. I met them at the International Congress of Youth Voices in 2019. And they have this series for young activists, and it's written for 12-year-olds or so, kind of that grade level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different stories of different people's journeys within activism and, what they've been able to accomplish on their journey and how they can inspire others. So I am now going to be an author and have a book in this amazing series that is meant to be, like educational, placed in schools, all those kinds of things. Um, and it's all about my journey in the music aspect, but also with the disability aspect and all my other intersections and how they kind of come together. And it's simplistic in a way because, it can't be too like long-winded and complex, but it really encompasses kind of the overall sense of my journey and where I've been and where I'm going. So I'm very, very excited for that. I think it's going to be published sometime in May, but I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure yet. We're still editing and things like that, but I am
Okay.
super thrilled about that and what that's going to look like as far as like promotion and being able to, talk about the book and really um, get into it. So I'm really
Amazing.
excited.
Amazing. So everybody listening, stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Listen, preciousperezmusica.com, Precious Perez Musica on Facebook. And yeah, my website has all the socials, the YouTube, the LinkedIn, the Instagram, anything you want, you can find it there.
And
And
you
love
mentioned
that.
all the socials. We will
Hmm.
definitely make sure they're in the description box below. All right. So everybody has that opportunity to go check it out. But you mentioned authenticity a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Precious Perez.
Yes.
Before we leave the channel, the podcast, Precious Perez, with all of her intersectionalities, who is Precious Perez?
A young Latina trailblazer.
I love that. And when we finish up here today, when we talk about what is next and everything like that, what do you want to make sure people recognize about your authenticity before they go?
Um, I want people to know that I'm a real person. I think
Mhm.
people, when they listen to podcasts or they see somebody on social media doing different things, they're like, wow, like
Yeah.
I could never do this. I could never. And I used to think that way. There were times, and there are still times where I'm like, nobody knows who I am. Like, I'm not really that big of a deal. Like, even though it's not about you, sometimes you still, when you have dreams, you want to accomplish those dreams and you want to feel like they're coming to fruition, and you can lose perspective so easily. I think the one thing to remember is that everybody's on their own journey. It all happens at a different time for you than it does for me, than it does for the next person. So, keep that in mind. We're not all meant to walk the same path. And it's okay if you're like
Mm.
28 and still don't know what's happening. It's okay if you're 42 and are starting your whole journey or career switch. Like, this whole mindset of there has to be only one set timeline does not work for everybody.
Right.
And it shouldn't, because nobody's the same.
Right.
And like, I'm a real person. I am, I struggle daily with, my mental health and whatever else I might be going through,
Yeah.
regardless of what you might see on my social media if you don't know me personally. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of how it is. Social media is only a snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the whole person. It's not meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody's journey is different. Be patient with yourself, give yourself grace. And I will do my best to do the same for myself.
Yeah.
And we're all people just trying to get through this together.
Yeah.
But
We
what you got
all.
to remember is you got to stay positive. You got to keep the
Yes.
vibes up.
Yes.
Like Lizzo says, it's about damn time,
In a minute.
Exactly. That song has been a vibe lately. I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'm good for today. I'm gonna be all right. She said I'm gonna be all right. All right, cool. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody's journey is different. We're all going through something. Mental health. If we for everybody, quick public service announcement. Check on your mental health. Make sure your mental is okay. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's okay. And to be clear though, it's okay to not be okay.
That part.
And I feel like people don't realize that, right?
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that. We think we have to be on all the time and
That's another
have
stigma.
all our Q's and
Mm-hmm.
X and like everything, dot our I's and everything
And
like
then
that.
especially as disabled people, you feel like you gotta be all that more on top of it because you can't afford to mess up, especially if you're the first person in a certain space or doing a certain thing. Like you're expected to just know everything and be on point all the time.
Oh, all blind people do that, Precious. What are you talking about? Right? So,
Right,
so,
exactly.
oh god. So bringing that back, and as we get ready to wrap up here, I think this has been a great conversation. And getting back to this blindness piece,
Mm,
and I have to like kind of like remind myself to get back to it because I know that not a lot of people know a lot about blindness, right?
right.
And so as we get ready to leave this conversation today, what would you want people to leave here about blindness? What's the message you'd like to leave off with about blindness?
I would like to say that blindness is a part. It is not the defining characteristic of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It is not something to be feared. And it is not something that is a obstacle or a limiter for what somebody can achieve.
No doubt. And so, gosh, blindness is just so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because society, like you said in the beginning, we hear all these different things about what we're told we can or can't do. And the fact of the matter is, you set your high expectations high, Precious, about because of your resiliency, your persistence, and your purpose. And with that being said, what's one word
Here
that
we go
will
with the one words.
with the one word we're
Killing
ending
me,
with the
Tariq.
like I give random numbers to different people, actually,
Love that
believe it
for
or
me.
not. I give
I get the one.
you get one. I'll be real, so other people have gotten more, but I figured you were up for a challenge.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
So one word that describes what next is, where Precious is going. One word.
Top.
Top.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Love that. And define that. Define top for us.
Top equals exactly what I've been striving toward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I'm gonna get there,
Mm-hmm.
but that's where we're going, up to the top.
Mm. Love that. Love that. When you talk about who you are as an individual and your journey, you have so many reasons to say or to feel like you won't be on top, right?
Oh,
So many
yeah.
reasons, or how should I say, society's limits and restraints on you that we're
Right.
told that absolutely not, precious. But it seems like you're not letting that stop you. You're resilient, and that's amazing.
Nope, we did not come to play. I am the wrong one if you're gonna try me, all right? That's all I'm gonna say to the world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh gosh. Final thoughts.
This has been a blast. Thank you for having me. This is such an important, I think, message to be put into the world, and what you're doing here is fantastic. So you keep going too. Keep up the great work and go up to the top.
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 You know,
That's the vibe.
someone asked me a question on the podcast once. And he was like, Tariq, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh
And
no, not that. Not
and
that.
it's a question, right? It's a question that I'm sure I've thought about several times with what I'm creating here and
Mhm.
everything like that. But I wasn't necessarily prepared to answer
Right.
it. But I answered it in the way that was the most authentic to me. And I didn't necessarily say I don't know, but what I said was I know that the platform will be bigger and better in 5 years. And I don't know exactly what that looks like,
Exactly.
but
Big picture.
whatever it looks like is.
Right.
And that's it. That's it. Thank you so much, Precious. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we're so happy to have you. It was amazing having you. We are going to have all the links, all the ways to listen in the description box below. And thank you so much for being here. And instead of ending and wrapping up with my song, we're gonna wrap up with one of Precious's songs. We're gonna wrap up with that in the outro. But
Hey, thank you.
thank everybody for listening. And not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope.
I'll be the first one to tell you it's all gonna be okay. There are rainbows and butterflies, even if you can't see them today.